Good day, good people, and welcome to another edition of A&T Today. I'm your host, Wendell Phillips, and I'm doing well, and I hope you are too. Today, in the studio with me, I have Minnie Battle Mays, who is the Director of International Affairs Office here at North Carolina A&T State University, and Eric White, who is a soon graduating, right? He's
Yes.
a graduating senior. And we've got some exciting things to talk about, as I've mentioned. Minnie Battle Mays is Director of International Affairs Office, so you can just about bet that we're going to be talking about some international things. In this global world that we live in, where everybody is merely about a keystroke away now, everything is getting closer, and Eric has some spectacular experiences that he's going to share with us as well. So let me just first of all, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. Good to have you here. And I'm going to be learning a whole lot today, I am quite sure. But Eric, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I already mentioned that you're a graduating senior. So go ahead and tell us about where you're from and a little bit about yourself so the audience can know.
Well, I am a non-traditional student.
Mm-hmm.
I'm originally from Hickory, North Carolina.
Okay.
But instead of saying where I'm from, I like to say where I last lived, which was Tanzania. I have designed my academic career to have a career upon graduation in humanitarian aid.
Mm-hmm.
And I have visited several countries while during my education, including Brazil, Costa Rica a couple of times. That was prior to my education, Costa Rica was.
Mm-hmm.
But Brazil, I studied there for 6 months. I did a research internship in South Korea 2 summers ago. And this past summer, I lived in Tanzania,
Mm-hmm.
studying Swahili, as well as doing an internship with a humanitarian organization.
Okay. You've been busy.
Yes.
You have racked up some frequent flyer miles. I mean, you've been all over the place, all over the globe.
Lived on 4 continents.
Right,
Since
right.
Since I started school here
Just
4.5 years ago.
That's a continent a year, just
Yeah.
about. You're doing well. You are doing well. But is this the kind? I mean, and we'll go deeper into the experiences. But Minnie, is this the kind of the types of experiences that we're looking for students to have as well, to be able to, grab on to experiences that aren't quite, the norm for every student.
Absolutely. Our goal is to get every student to do it at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Eric has done it 3 times.
Yeah, he's done it for 3 other students.
He's done his share plus some. So we hope that some of that will rub off on some of our students. I can tell you, though, that the first trip overseas mm-hmm. is the most difficult. Mm-hmm. So many students are afraid for some reason or another mm-hmm. of taking the plunge and really going abroad. But once they do, many of them go for a second, sometimes even a third and fourth time. But Eric has carved a little niche for himself mm-hmm. in his interest in international humanitarian assistance, mm-hmm. which is a wonderful area to focus on. And as a matter of fact, Eric, you probably don't know that, but that was the first part of my career too, was international human assistance, is the way we used to term it. Okay. And so I did a lot of work similar to the kinds of things that he's aspiring to do. Mm-hmm. So I think he will, make a tremendous contribution to humankind because it's the right spirit.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now there was some talk about, you're right, because you need to be able to just adapt.
You do.
You need to be
Absolutely.
very adaptable, and you appear to have done it on 4 different continents so
yes.
far.
Yes.
So, but what you talk about the Knowledge Exchange Institute? Tell the listeners what that's all about, the Knowledge Exchange Institute.
The Knowledge Exchange Institute, KEI, mm-hmm. is based out of Nyack, New York, mm-hmm. and they have contracts with several different cities, not sure how many, around the world for students at universities to learn languages as well as cultural experiences, a cultural exchange within those countries. And they do many cultural things as well as learn the local language.
Okay. So
yeah, I'd just like to add that, KEI actually, it started out, it's what we call a third-party provider, providing experiences for students abroad, for study abroad. Okay. And they really started out to try to offer experiences for students in the STEM disciplines. And they've evolved from just the science, technology, engineering, and math to include psychology, political science, and all of the different academic majors. So they partner with universities in different countries around the world to provide this study abroad experience.
And so programs like these, do they increase the number of international students that we have on our campus even? Or?
Well, actually, no. These particular ones, when we work with third-party providers like this, it's not an exchange. It's what we call a direct study abroad.
Okay.
So Eric went to Tanzania, but no one came here to take his place. Those are what we call exchange programs, and we have a number of those.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about some of those, too. We can talk about some of the exchange programs, too. Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that because exchange programs, they level the playing field for us. A student can study abroad for the same price that they study abroad at that they study at A&T for. So you pay your A&T tuition and fees, and sometimes even your room and board, and you go abroad and you receive that same benefit without having to pay extra for it. So the difference really becomes buying a plane ticket.
Right.
So that makes it really affordable. And then we in turn get someone here who takes your place, who's paid their tuition and fees at home. Okay. So that kind of levels the playing field and makes it affordable for everyone.
For example, I was on an exchange program with Brazil.
Yes.
Okay.
Notice a student came up here on my behalf the following semester after I spent my 6 months down there.
Wow. So I would imagine you got a bevy of languages and that you can speak as well.
Quadrilingual.
Yes.
Quadrilingual, yeah. That's right. You always hear bilingual. Quadrilingual. I'm good. Yeah. So what languages have you learned to speak some of?
Well, there's my native language, English, of course.
That's a tough one for me. I'm still battling that. So.
Probably the toughest one for people to learn outside of this country.
True.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
Portuguese in Brazil.
Okay.
I had learned Spanish prior to my academics because I had lived in Costa Rica a couple of times. And then I learned Swahili, which is the professional term for that is Kiswahili.
Okay.
In Tanzania this past summer. I studied that for 3 weeks in the capital city of Tanzania.
I'm taking you with me whenever I go anywhere else. I'm gonna take Eric with me because I haven't I'm just barely getting through English, as the listeners can attest to. As I've been on here.
But Eric is. He mentioned earlier that he's a non-traditional student, and I know the audience can't see him to know what that means.
Right.
And Eric, you came back to school as an adult student, and after having worked for years and traveled and everything. And so I just wanted to pick up on that a little bit because oftentimes people think that study abroad is only for the 19, 20-year-old first-time college student. And Eric and several other non-traditional students here at A&T have taken advantage of this opportunity to study abroad. And Eric has just taken it to the ultimate degree.
That's right. Well, he's become like the poster child for that
really
in a good way.
In a great way.
I'm not going to say my age, but I'm twice the age of the majority of the students that are here on campus.
Well, that's it. Well, that's all right. I mean, it's never too late to learn, never too late to go abroad, and you never forget some of the things that you've learned. Sometimes it's the way that you learn too. It's just being involved and immersed in cultures and things like that, where you learn so much more than any textbook could actually tell you. You learn much more about political climates. You learn so much more socially.
I've enjoyed every minute of my education here.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your book to come out. I don't know when
There's one pending.
See, you are ahead of the game. I mean, you are ahead of the game. Of the languages that you mentioned, which one was the toughest one to learn? I mean, I've heard about Swahili, but never Kiswahili. Now that I've learned, now that I've been saying it wrong all this time, but the professional term, right? But was any one language tougher than the other?
Probably the Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
One who speaks Portuguese and one who speaks only Spanish can converse with each other, but the Portuguese has some guttural nasal sounds that were included as part of their language, and for me, making those sounds were difficult.
Right.
But yeah, Portuguese was probably the hardest.
The toughest one.
But I had a lot of help. I had a host family that I was living with while I was there.
So you were getting all kinds of stuff. The stuff you can say and the stuff you can't say.
Yes,
You know, that you can't say.
Language and the culture.
That's right. That's right. So, Mitty, what do you have any stories of kind of? I'm sure you have a bevy of stories, but any that stick out in your mind in terms of how students feel when they come back? I mean, are they? It seems like it's such a life-changing experience that you come back and start rethinking all of the things that you thought before. Like, you know what? I went to school for this, but now I want to go out and build a new world.
Yes. Well, we do know that that study abroad is a transformative experience. And I always say I think I have the best job on campus because I see people before they go. Sometimes I take pictures of them, especially the ones that are a little nervous and shy and a little afraid about what they're a little intimidated.
Right.
And then to see them come back with confidence in themselves and with language skills and excited and with a new sense of purpose about what they're doing. It's just amazing. It's very rewarding.
I just can't imagine. It makes me feel like I need to go back to school because I missed out. I want to go back and go do something
Never
different.
too late to re-educate
yourself.
yourself.
Well, you're right. You're right.
To re-educate.
To re-educate. That's right. That's a good slogan. Are you running for something,
good.
man? I don't know. But Eric, if you can share with us, and maybe we can go with any one in particular, any continent you choose, continent of your choosing. You pick probably the story or the thing that sticks out most in your mind in terms of what affected you the most, maybe. I don't know, and maybe the most recent trip to Tanzania, or maybe something else.
It will be Tanzania.
Okay.
That's the one that I'm most passionate about out of all the places that I've been. I love the culture of Tanzania. For instance, the country, I heard, does not have a single retirement center, a nursing home for their elderly. The families are so close-knit. You can have one central location and have anywhere from 50 to 100 different family members living within a half a mile or a mile radius of you. So when your grandparents get old, they can't take care of themselves anymore. They can still live in their same house, and they have such a communal network to take care of the elderly. Another aspect of it, for instance, was when I would be walking through some of these remote rural villages, the people who got to know me, as I would be walking through, I would stop and talk and practice my Swahili with them. But it is very common for them for the younger children to treat the elders with respect. And the people of the family, they would go to their fruit trees or their garden and pick me a bag of fruits or a handful of okra. On 2 occasions, people would give me a live chicken with the feet tied up together in case the chicken fell on the ground, it wouldn't run away from me. And
That's a big gift.
Take it, a huge gift.
Yes.
Yeah, and I take it back to the place where I was living and cook it up for dinner that night.
Oh, that's right into it. I mean, right into it. But you're right. Now that's the other piece, because I think sometimes we have an idea of what life is like in other places. And it sounds like you went with a very open mind, and you were able just to receive everything. Did you notice anything that, you know, did you have a greater appreciation for some of the simpler things sometimes? Sometimes we tend to complicate things, I think, here. And other places are like, you know what? Simpler may be better sometimes. I mean, you know, people are more relaxed, it sounds like. You know, we have such a, what you're talking about, you can tell so much by how culture treats their old and their young. You can tell so much about a culture by how they treat them, and what you're saying there in terms of how, what you saw in Tanzania in terms of how there was such respect for the elders and the by the young, and they were learning from the elders. And you know, did you see anything there that we could emulate here, or somewhere that we could put you know, something we could work toward bringing back, you know, in some ways, something that we may have missed? And that's for either one of you, because I know you travel quite a bit as well. But we look for, you know, things to, you know, I felt good hearing him talk about the elders and the respect for the elders. And you know, we have all of these battles back and forth here about, you know, about things that seem so trivial, but life is important, you know, and everything. So. What things did you see there that maybe we could, you know, emulate here, that we could do here? Is anything that came to mind?
They didn't appear to be greedy people.
Mm-hmm.
They had a very laid-back lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
The work mentality is 4 days a week, maybe 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
They typically would take Wednesdays off, middle of the week, and just relax. Of course, I was living in a place without electricity, and part of that laid-back aspect of it was that they had no modern technology like we have here that keeps the people busy here.
Mm-hmm.
People here that are walking down the sidewalk, texting on their phones.
That's right.
There, you talk to your neighbors. You know everybody in the whole village of 5,000 people.
That's something that'd be nice to get back to, but you're right. I'd pass right out if there was no electricity. I don't think I'd make it 10 minutes, and then I wouldn't be able to tell if it was 10 minutes because none of my clocks would be working, so I'd be done. But what was the most rewarding thing that you found in some of your travels? What sticks out to you most, do you think? In all the places that you've been so far, because I'm sure you're going somewhere else. You'll be going somewhere else. I don't know.
I'm actually heading back to Tanzania.
Okay.
After I graduate, I'm moving there.
You're moving to Tanzania?
Yes.
So from just outside Hickory to Tanzania.
Yes.
See, then that's what it's now your heart ought to be just pounding.
Very glad.
Does that happen often? I mean,
it does happen often. It does.
That's surprising.
Yes, we've had a number of students. I heard from someone a few months back who had studied abroad for a semester, wrote a book, came back, published it, and graduated, and went abroad to do her master's degree. And so I heard from her a few months ago. She's back. She finished her master's degree overseas. Have another one I just saw in China, who's decided to go back there and really learn the language, and is studying there with a scholarship from the Chinese government. And I mean, I could go on and on, because there are so many stories of our students that have gone abroad, come back. It's like a bug bites you.
Right.
You know, it gets in your blood, and you just can't go back to your ordinary life. One student actually said, studying abroad was the best thing that happened to me, and study abroad was the worst thing that happened to me, because now I can't just settle. Was that you? Because I can't just settle for any, just being complacent.
Idle, yeah.
And idle at home.
Wow.
I've got to be on the go. Engaged globally.
So once with the student who goes, who's been there and come back and then goes back, obviously you keep track of those that you can. They touch base with you.
Yes.
Do you then utilize them at all when we send students?
Absolutely.
Okay, and they help out, so
Absolutely.
that's
they help
even better,
out. They
right?
really do.
Because you
They
got
help
kind of a
out.
welcoming.
We do.
committee. Okay.
A welcoming built-in support system for our students when they go abroad. If we know that there's someone there, we definitely put them in touch.
Well, what's one of the? You said you're going now, Eric. You said you're going back to Tanzania. What are you going to do when you go back? I mean, you just obviously it seems like there's some unfinished business that you've got there, that your programs or something that you're doing there that you'd like to get involved in.
While I was living in rural Tanzania, I connected with the Catholic organization, and they took me in like a son.
Mm-hmm.
I lived with the parish priest and ate with the bishops, and while I was there, they wanted me to, I'm a photographer, they wanted me to collect videos and photographs to make documentaries, which I'm in the process of doing that now, to raise funding for humanity. But while I was there, I was wanting to have something that would look good on my resume to appeal to a career with USAID or UNDP or World Bank.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got over there and saw what I saw, I came up with the ideas with the help of the Catholic parish priest, this guy that I was living with, to create my own nonprofit, non-governmental organization. Mm-hmm. So when I came back to the United States, I started immediately the processes of creating this non-governmental organization, which is a 501c3,
Mm-hmm.
that will, once I get this charitable solicitation license, I will be able to start raising funding from grants that will be written to submit to civic, governmental, and religious organizations that will help support the type of work that I want to do in Tanzania,
Mm-hmm.
which is I'll be working in 4 different villages, and I had meetings with the village chiefs and their council to determine what their priorities are to increase their villagers to a certain level of economic status. And I talked to them independently, each village independently, but all 4 villages have the same list of 3 priorities, and these priorities they're not necessarily in the same order, but
Mm-hmm.
the priorities include water resources, education, and agriculture. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, one village had 10 boreholes, and they're manual pumps that a villager has to walk maybe up to a mile to get water. Out of these 10 boreholes that were drilled back in 1980, only 2 of those boreholes are in operation now. So out of a village of a population of 5,000 people, probably more than 90% of those people have had to revert back to the streams to do their daily duties of water. They go literally to the streams to wash their clothes, wash their dishes, to bathe. They will scoop up water out of the stream to drink. In addition to carrying water, traditionally the women and the children do all the domestic chores.
Mm-hmm.
They will carry the water 5 gallons at a time in a bucket on top of their heads up to a mile, back to their homes for irrigation and domestic use back at the house. That's just one example of.
I can see there's some. And how many? You said how many boreholes there were? There were only
10.
There were 10 boreholes in 1980, and only 2.
Only 2 work.
Now, did those 10 ever work? Do you think? Or
Yes, yeah.
Okay, they
Yes.
used to work, but now it's just down to 2. Okay.
Yeah.
That was one drop.
Yeah.
Well, wow,
Yeah.
wow. And you talk about a non-governmental organization. I think it makes sense. I think for the audience to know too that oftentimes so much is spent on other things. I guess when people collect, when the organizations that collect for helping folks out. So that's the difference between the non-governmental organization that you want to form. That the funds go directly to. Most of the funds go directly to what
the
it is,
people,
to the
yes.
people, right?
as
the
opposed
cause.
to a governmental organization.
Right.
I don't know if I want to get into that.
No, all right.
That's
Well,
not what this show's about.
that's right. That's right. But so yeah, you have it laid out. Then you've got a plan. You know, soon. Are you just gonna walk off the stage with your degree and jump right on the plane? Is it that fast, or how?
My timeline with the man in my church who is helping me out with the small processes that I have to get myself to Tanzania, we're setting a timeline for July.
Okay.
For me to get there.
And then that's right. And that's you're relocating. That's it. That's everything.
Yes.
You're going to be
Yes.
right there. So
Yes.
if we want to reach Eric, we have to call Tanzania or call Minnie Battle Mays and find out. Send Eric a message, because it'd be interesting to kind of keep up with you and find out, you know, where you are with this and how things are coming and you know the challenges and the opportunities.
Well, I've talked to several of my favorite professors, Dr. Manny Reyes.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Edasi, he's from Tanzania, and they are going to work in collaboration with North Carolina A&T and Texas A&M. They have a irrigation projects that they're going to be doing, I believe, in Ethiopia starting next year. 2 years out from now, they're going to come to Tanzania also to do irrigation projects in a different village that I'll be working in. But when I become established there, and when they come to Tanzania, between A&T and Texas A&M, they have said that they wanted to collaborate with me to do irrigation projects in the villages that I'll be working in.
Okay.
So,
Well, now folks that are listening out there who may have students who, you know, the students who are listening out there who may, you know, be interested, but Vinny, tell them how they can get involved with or get involved with the International Affairs Office.
Yes. We're calling it International
That's right.
Affairs today because that's really the official name of
Right,
our
go
office.
ahead and set
We're
that
talking
straight.
about that earlier, and most people around campus know us as the Office of International Programs, but officially and on the books, we are the Office of International Affairs. I was saying earlier to Wendell that when we first started, actually I'm the founding director, and so when we started back in 2000, the words international program seemed to be a more natural flow for folk.
Right.
But I think after 14 years, we've evolved to a point where we can, you know, really go to our official name, which is the Office of International Affairs.
Yeah.
And we do so many different things on so many levels at this point. We've really grown tremendously. If a student is interested, the first thing they should do is attend one of our general information sessions. We have 3 that are regularly scheduled and take place every week on, let me hope I get this right now. Today's Wednesday, right? So not on Wednesdays, but Mondays and Fridays at 2. I'm sorry, Monday and Thursday at 2. And on Tuesdays, it's at 11. And they're held in room 215 in the academic classroom building.
Okay.
And so you don't have to have an appointment, just come right in and to room 215, and we give you an overview of study abroad and internships and international opportunities here at A&T. One day we hope that'll include Eric's program,
Right.
but students can find out about the various opportunities that are available to take bump their education up a notch, you know, by getting this international experience. When they start with that session, and then we'll take it from there. We have a whole packet that they'll receive with all the next steps, and before you know it, we hope that they will take that final step and get on a plane and head out of A&T for at least a semester or a summer.
Yeah, that's right. So anything else you want to, either one of you want to leave with the listeners? Eric, we'd love to hear you, you know, dazzle us with some Swahili. I wouldn't know what you were saying, but if you could, you know, say something to the audience that's listening.
Well, I'll say good afternoon, which is habari za mchana.
Okay.
And a response to that, a word that you may be familiar with, which is salama,
Okay.
which means peace.
Okay. All right. Well, that works. That's we can offer that piece. That one I can remember. I can do that one.
Yes.
All right. Well, Minnie Battle Mays, Director of the International Affairs Office that we have straightened out here at North Carolina A&T State University, and Eric White, thank you so much for being with us today, and thanks for the work that you're doing. Look forward to hearing great things from you, and I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to Tanzania and what's happening there, and looking for you to make that impact.
Yeah.
May I say that I have a website,
Okay.
www.isedo.org, and the ISEDO stands for International Socio-Economic Development Organization.
Okay.
.org.
All right.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being with us. All
Thank
right.
you.
Enjoyed it.
All right. All right, good people. That does it for another episode of A&T Today. I'm Wendell Phillips, and until next time, I'll see you on the radio.
Wow.